Well, let's bring in Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado, a member of the Armed Services Committee. He is also an Army veteran who served in both Iraq and Afghanistan. Welcome, Congressman. Awfully glad to talk with you about this. And look, it's not a pleasant subject for someone like you particularly to hear, but the Trump administration is rolling out more defenders today amid all the fallout. That reports are that the president denigrated U.S. soldiers who were either killed or hurt in combat. Here's a little more. Let's listen to it of Veterans Affairs Secretary Robert Wilkie earlier.
Have you ever heard the president disparage U.S. service members or veterans?
Well, absolutely not. And I would be offended, too, if I thought it was true. Some of these sources that you cite are general officers. I was born in khaki diapers. I've spent my entire life around the military, and I've never known any general officers to hide behind stars. So what I'm looking at is the Donald Trump that I know, the Donald Trump who has turned around Veterans Affairs.
So I'm curious what you make of that defense. Do you agree that the president has turned around Veterans Affairs? Has he done a lot for veterans, for people like you?
Well, with the veterans that I represent in my community, there is still a very long way to go. And it's no surprise that the president's going to roll out loyalists and people that currently work for him to try to defend him. But it's also no surprise that this happened. I mean, the president has a very long history of disparaging veterans, of disparaging service members, our fallen soldiers. You know, when he says things like that, my mind automatically goes to the men and women that I served with, my friends that didn't come home from Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, if he's going to disparage our servicemen and women, our fallen, he should name names so we know what he's talking about. It's disgraceful. That's the last full measure of his disgrace, as I said on Friday. And it's time for the country to stand up and repudiate this man that is incapable of actually respecting and honoring service and public service overall.
Well, let's take a listen together as the president speaks up in his own defense. Here's that.
Nobody's done what I've done with the budgets, with the military budgets, with getting pay raises for our military.
I've done more for the military than almost anybody else.
I think it's a shame when a second-rate magazine, I don't read it, I know very little about this magazine, but when a second-rate magazine can write things like that about somebody that's done so much for the military.
Are the facts when you look at his record with the military?
Well, first of all, I've been a member of Congress for several years now, and I actually sit on the Armed Services Committee. It's Congress that makes the budgets. I've sat in those hearings, and I've actually helped put together the Defense Department budget. It's Congress that gave the pay raises to the troops, not the president. He signed the bill, but it was our bill, it was our budget that got that through. And in terms of saying nobody has done anything more for the military than the president has, that is just absurd and beyond any kind of realistic measure. You know, we have a lot of challenges in our military. This is somebody who has repeatedly turned his back on our allies, who has pulled us out of Syria, left our alliances and partners behind, who goaded Iran into attacking our soldiers in Iraq. And now we have over 100 soldiers in Iraq that came under missile attack and had traumatic brain injury. There's incident after incident of him using the military in a transactional way or for political purposes. And, of course, let's not forget Ukraine, one of our allies at war, and withholding $250 million of critical security and military aid for his own political purposes. So I could go on for a very long time about this president's history of politicizing and using our men and women in uniform for his own benefit. But you know, it would not help to pile on at this point. Now we just have to repudiate this man and this president and move forward as a country.
I want to take a look at some parts of Michael Cohen's upcoming book, with the Washington Post reporting that some of his major claims, the former fixer and Trump attorney alleging that Trump made overt and covert attempts to get Russia to interfere in the 2016 election, and writing about the hush money payments, which he has long said Trump was involved in. You, sir, were an impeachment manager. Are any of his claims new, or are they different from the information that you had?
Well, I have to be honest with you. Michael Cohen is irrelevant to me. You know, there's a long history of this president being corrupt, nepotistic, using the powers of the office to further his own campaign and personal personal benefit over and over and over again. The fact that we have just one more person that's piling on this very long and established record of corruption by this president and misuse of official resources and collusion with Russia. We don't need Michael Cohen to tell us that there was collusion with Russia. We know it. Dozens of other people have proven it. There are facts out there, despite what the president and his enablers and other folks might say. So this is just one more example. And, whether Michael Cohen puts this in a book for his own benefit or not, doesn't concern me.
Do you think, though, had Michael Cohen been more forthcoming at the time, if some of the things that are in this book were proven to be true during the time in the impeachment, would that have helped your case during the impeachment?
Well, I don't think we needed additional help by our case in the impeachment. We proved our case during the impeachment. In fact, many Republican senators admitted to us as much, that we, beyond any doubt, proved that what we were saying happened with regard to Ukraine happened, and they believed us. They just weren't willing to impeach because they didn't have the personal or political courage to do so. So I don't think we needed any additional assistance. I think we established, very clearly what happened, and whether Michael Cohen puts it in a book or not, or whether Ambassador Bolton puts it in a book or not, doesn't matter. The facts and the record are pretty clear and pretty well established at this point.
Right, you are, to bring Ambassador Bolton into that conversation as well. Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado. Very nice talking with you, sir. I'll look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.